I'm one of the ranch owners and land stewards out here, and that's Katie. If you guys didn't meet her, just to reiterate, that's my lover, and that's our tiny bean Scout. She's the smallest bison wrangler in Gillespie County. Probably we're the only bison ranchers in our whole county, so it's not a hard title. And then this is James Tomney. He's our ranch hand land steward, so he knows a shit ton about the property too. And so yeah, welcome to Rome Ranch. We have owned this property for about 4 years, and some of y'all have heard this before, but when we purchased it, it was severely degraded property. It had been conventionally managed for about 100 years. This area was settled about 140 years ago, and since the Europeans came, the farming techniques that they used was all about maximizing extraction, efficiency. And so if you think about it, if you're like managing a bank account in that aspect, where every year you're trying to pull as much out of it as possible, as quickly as possible, never putting back into that bank account, well shit, what's gonna happen? Bank account will collapse. And so this ecosystem had collapsed a long time before we bought the ranch. When we purchased it, 50% of the property were old barn fields that were degraded to the point at which they were desertified. The only way you could produce food out here was with chemical inputs, so they were dependent on synthetic nitrogen, herbicides, pesticides, all types of inputs to combat what was happening at the property and what Mother Nature wanted this place to be. And frankly, it had been on the market forever because no one wanted to deal with that. It was collapsed. And so we thought this was the perfect opportunity to buy something severely degraded and then regenerate it using livestock as our primary tool to doing that and accomplishing that goal. So right now, Rome Ranch is a multi-species regenerative ranch. We raise bison, turkeys, broiler chickens. We've done laying chickens, geese, ducks. We have a honeybee apiary. We just sold our pigs, and so we kind of lost that. But more importantly, we host at any point in time about 700 deer on the property between axis and whitetail. We have a couple 100,000 eastern meadowlarks that call this place home during the winter. And so the point is, we have livestock, but we're also balancing that relationship with the wildlife and creating a plate and a seat at the table, per se, for all organisms to participate in this ecosystem. Because all of our management decisions to move towards that regenerative system is based on emulating the wisdom of Mother Nature and learning from that and applying those learnings and setting a stage to where, with her grace and her forgiveness, she can actually help regenerate and restore this process and create that virtuous cycle. And so at the ranch, we have probably 3,000-4,000, depending on the year, visitors coming out every year to learn about regenerative agriculture, to do farm tours, private tours. We host events where other ranchers can come out and learn new practices within our community and at large. And so this place is a mecca, it's a hub to accelerate large-scale change. And even though we are a regional small family operation, the biggest takeaway, every single visitor that comes here, they're fully on board. They're like, shit, this is it, regenerative ag. This is the biggest opportunity to correct so many of the problems that our civilization faces. But where do I start? How do I support this system? And forever, we just kind of were frustrated at that point. You know, like, well, you can buy meat from us, that supports us. You can buy meat from white oak pastures in southern Georgia, but there's just not a lot of regenerative ranches that have collectively put together a supply chain to drive change. And so that was the genesis, the creation for Force of Nature, which was for the first time to have a product on grocery store shelves that was verified regenerative. So we were measuring, monitoring outcomes, testing the data, creating a new supply chain that was actually better for the environment, better for the planet, better for consumers, and having that conversation face to face with consumers for the first time. Because we think that's really the tipping point. To accelerate this, it has to be the awareness and the knowledge that consumers can drive and then purchase with their dollars in a way that is aligned and parallels their own value system.